Did God design the church to be big or small? In our culture, there's a lot of talk about whether mega churches are better or home churches are better or any of the sizes in between. And so today we want to dive into in a brief chat about what God meant for the church to be. And so to do that, I want to look at the life and ministry of Jesus Christ. And the answer to this may not be what you think it is. And so as we see Jesus take off in his ministry, he starts by gathering his 12 disciples. And that would be what we would call a small group. Many of you guys who have been in churches have seen different groups. Some people call them life groups. Some people call them discipleship groups. Other people they're just generally known as small groups. And it's a very popular trend right now. They used to be called Sunday school because they met at the church building before service or after. And in whatever context they meet, it's a small group of people that follow a teacher who is leading them to God. And so we see Jesus start off with a small group of devoted followers. Then we see Jesus following as he expands his ministry into homes that are packed and filled with other people. We see Jesus talking to crowds inside these houses that are overwhelmed and flowing onto the street, so much so that a bunch of people had to dig a hole in the roof to lower their friend down for Jesus to heal him. And so we see a very clear biblical concept of the house church. But then we also see Jesus teaching in the synagogue. And you may be thinking, what's that, right? What's the synagogue? Essentially, the synagogue was their version of church. Now, there were some differences, and that's not an exact translation, so just bear with me. We got a short video, okay? But essentially, people went to the synagogue to learn about God, and they had religious teachers there that would teach them, and Jesus, being a rabbi, would teach at the synagogue. Well, that's a pretty big church, right? That's an average sized church. You had an entire community or culture that would go to the synagogue on a regular basis to learn about God. And then you see Jesus at the temple, which is the place to worship and would probably be considered by most as a mega church. Furthermore, you see Jesus doing the Sermon on the Mount to more than 5,000 people multiple times in his ministry from various angles. And then going on beyond that, you see the Christians who are scattered by Paul and his persecution going to all these different hubs and starting house churches after Pentecost, which had multiple thousands of people baptized and saved just on that one day. So it sounds to me like maybe the church comes in multiple forms. Maybe one's not better than the other. Maybe it's the quality of the people leading the church and what their mission is to do it. And so just a thought for us, before we mark all mega churches or all small churches or all medium churches or just all churches in general one way, take the time to look at what they actually do. What is it that they actually say? And how do they actually put their efforts, their time, their treasure, and their talent? Because, guys, most of the pastors I know are just normal people trying to do the best they can to fulfill their calling in Christ. And many of the mega church pastors, the small 20, 30 person church pastors, the churches that are more like Passion size, 200 to 300 people on a Sunday or beyond that, in any range, right? Most of those people that I've met are just average men and women who are doing their very best to fulfill a calling to the very best of their ability. They're not perfect. Their churches don't hit a home run every time, but they do what they can. And man, they do a lot of good. And so perhaps for us, what we should not ask is, what's the best size of church? But maybe it's, what's the best mission for those churches to have?